We are live. Good evening and welcome to the Battle Pirates Hangout in the Crib. I am the BP Professor, and I am joined tonight by our consistent crew. We've got Disturbed One
Hello.
and Hefe
Hello, ladies and pirates. Welcome.
and Tito.
Hi, everybody. How is it going?
All right, and I do want to give Hefe a special shout out because he helped a lot on these slides. Kixeye did a release today, and no way would I have gotten these things updated without some help, so I'll give him that shout out right up front. Anyway, today we are going to talk about the new raid, Escalation, starting tomorrow, or mañana, as they say in Hefe speak. Or Tito speak.
Tito speak.
Yeah, I can't speak that too.
Yeah, come to think of it. And so yeah, let's get started. I'll share the screen. Did I share the right screen? I sure did. Okay. So we're going to start with bug fixes. And I thought these bug fixes were particularly obscure today. Although the first one's interesting. Fixed a case where the Revenge would not receive damage from certain damage types. Do we know what damage types those are?
I'm guessing it's going to... You can go on.
Go ahead, Disturb.
I'm guessing it's the ones the Bloodthirst would affect, because that's what I've seen not do damage is level 4 scatter guns or antipode enforcers. Once that Bloodthirst is built up, they don't do damage, even though there should be a minimum damage, so I'm guessing that's what they fixed.
Actually, Doom or Scarlet provided a little bit of clarification. The primary damage types, as they were referred to, which is the old school explosive, penetrating, ballistic, it wasn't calculating in minimum damage. And so now it will calculate minimum damage, because personally I could run a 85, as long as I didn't run into like radioactive or concussive. You know, you could throw a Revenge into a 85 Forsaken Mission, you know, the weekly target, and take 0 damage. And
yeah, that was a bit shady, that you could sit on the top of those serbs around and dropping all the mortars on top of you, and you were getting 0 damage, because it was always a meme that you were getting, but you were not seeing. You could see that was spotting there and sitting all the game, and they were not getting even a scratch. So I guess that's that.
I thought those were supposed to have deflection bypass.
I was referring to the 85s. I'm not sure exactly what Tito said. The 85 from the weekly?
Yeah, the Forsaken.
Yes.
Huh. All right.
So it's basically calculating minimum damage now. Previously, it was not calculating minimum damage into what you would take. So now minimum damage will be assessed to your Revenge fleet at this point.
Well, I'm taking into that, I would like to see a minimum damage stat for all weapons on the blueprint description, so we know what it's doing at least.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, that's bug fix number 1. Number 2, target intel report can now be accessed on all applicable targets by clicking the info button for that target.
That one is well, at least you don't have those windows each time that you click on any target that tell you what they will provide or not, that help you get a snipe more easily.
Okay, I see. All right, so that one doesn't come up anymore. That's probably a better description of the fix.
Well, it comes up if you have not checked that box that you have, but now you can claim it back just hitting the second option. I think it says info, and you hit there, and it comes back to you, so you can get it.
Okay.
I think it's actually a different issue. Remember, I think was it last show or the show before where we discussed the lack of application of the info button on all the targets related to the Foundry? I think that's what this is about, but it hasn't been implemented. There was a pop-up in the game that actually gave us more text than we're seeing right here, but it hasn't been implemented at this point. I'm only seeing the info button available on those targets that it was before. And I think that's what they mean by can now be accessed on all applicable targets.
Oh, so this change that Tito was talking about was more of a change than a bug fix, but it's a good change if it's in there. I haven't played today, sorry.
I have, and you can see it in any of the targets that you hit. It doesn't matter that the mines don't have it yet as hit points, but all the other targets I saw it.
Okay. All right, and then the last two have to do with base parts. Fixed an issue that could cause base parts to be used when fast equipping a turret.
I've never spent gold on a turret, so I don't know.
Well, I'm talking about. I don't understand what that means. Base parts are supposed to be used when you fast equip a turret, right?
I think if you use gold to do the whole thing, what I'm saying is I've never done it, but if you use gold to, like, I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to add on whatever to my turret, and I use gold, it's not supposed to eat up your base parts. But I guess it's...
Yeah, okay, so fast equipping, they mean coining.
Yeah, but that's the last of the fixes. So the first one, I don't know exactly what it is, because if you read the last point, it says that when you were coining it, you were still using base parts in some cases.
Well, that one, it sounds related, but even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would take the parts, and then you'd top off your gold, and then you'd coin the build. But if you, like, took the parts and topped off your gold and then didn't do it, you'd still lose the parts, maybe. All right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's bug fixes. I probably don't want to talk too much more about these. Do we?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, let's talk about these, because we like build time reductions. These released today. So, old obsolete rockets got their build time reduced, which is nice, because if you want to build them, you'll waste less time building them. E-armor got its build time reduced, and that's nice, because E-armor is still pretty useful. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll wait till you're done. I have a comment on the whole lot.
Okay. Next is agility system got its time reduced, which, again, I really appreciate that one. I thought agility was punishingly long.
Yes, now it's quite interesting, because unless you are looking for that last punch on a bait, you can just go with agility system 3 for 12 hours. That I think is quite close to the other one. I think it's 9 hours the Guerrilla Scramble, unless they reduce it more.
Yeah, probably around that. And then the combustion system and countermeasure loaders got reduced. And actually, I used countermeasure loaders on my Vendetta build, so that's kind of interesting. But we'll talk more about the preview later. And then, oh, go ahead.
Well, I'll let you finish. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and then countermeasure loaders 1. Oh, combustion system 2. Just noticed that. That's a really good one. And the old resonance battery, which isn't all that useful. You know, I think Vendetta is probably the first hull that people really want to use Vendetta resonance battery with, other than occasional, you know, builds with maybe wake attack module. So I guess my point is, anybody who gets who wants to use resonance battery on a Vendetta would rather just use resonance capacitor, the new one that we'll talk about.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion on all of these except for combustion system 2, they've all been severely degraded as far as their usefulness over the last week or 2 or month. And this makes it easier to strip them off old hulls because of the the refit penalty. I mean,
yeah,
that's the usefulness I see personally, because as we see with the increasing accuracy of the raid targets, and the fact that more and more of the things that come after, that try to hit your ships are splash related, and I just think it's the easier way to reduce the refit penalty personally.
Yes, I
I don't.
agree, especially if we're taking care that after the raid, the Forsaken mission brings a sort of deflection armor, because since that now it's more interesting deflection rather than evade in your ships.
yeah,
It
we're all
help a
gonna.
lot on the refits.
Yeah, I still think some of these are pretty good. Agility 4, Combustion 2. There's some
No,
good
no.
ones.
Combustion 2 was my exception.
Okay.
The rest of them, I think it's just so it's easier to take them off, and less less of a penalty to take them off and replace them with the new version of it.
Okay. All right. We ready to move on from build times?
Sure.
All right. Maybe I should click on the presentation window instead of the Hangout window. Okay, escalation. So the raid structure is kind of similar. I list the points for each target or set. The points in the A and B set have gone up, I'll say, a fair amount. C set used to be, I think, 69K to do a whole C set, and B set was closer to 350, 400K. So B set went up quite a bit, and I think I remember last raid players were pretty down on low payouts from the B set.
I don't know, because I think that I was on diminishing, and I don't know if that displays me the diminishings already or not. When I was watching that, I came the last day of the raid.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit higher than it used to be, I think.
Yeah, even the target points went up for the B set. So even if you're on diminishing bonus, at least you'll get more points from the target itself. And then A set went up 50K. I didn't really think that was worth putting on the slide. It's kind of in the noise. And then we got Manowars again, and uranium is available through points. And there was a raid briefing that was, I don't know, fair to middling as raid briefings go. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, this, I think we'll get to more later as far as the potential inaccuracies in it, but you can go ahead.
All right. All right. Manowar, this is actually the same slide as last month. I don't know if we need to see this again. I mean, these targets are really hard for 42K uranium, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, they remove all the other source of ways to get uranium, and this is not especially the one you would want to see. As you say, it's quite hard, and tell me how can a low-level player that want to keep using rogue crews get uranium out of this? He can take all his fleets to try to scratch one of those.
Yeah. This one isn't even especially desirable for you to win, right? I mean, I think this is probably the worst of the super hulls. Don't you think?
You can't put it. I mean,
what do you do with
for
it?
a lot of players? I mean, yeah. What do you do with it? Yeah, that's it. Especially for the repair and build times. I mean, why would you? Yeah, why would you spend your time doing this?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see putting the Proto Nemesis in your base, Ghost Crawler to go out and have fun and mess with people. Same with the Hellstar as far as putting it in your base, but I don't know what you do with this.
Yeah.
I mean, it may tie into the Foundry with the Mega Hall as this being a good one to have inside of your Mega Hall when you're doing this 5-on-5 battle. But as far as the way the game's currently constructed, I don't really see a huge amount of use for it.
Yeah. Okay, moving on from the Manowar to Escalation. And I promised hot chicks this week, so I'm delivering. All right, so I think all four of us were in the raid preview, right?
I wasn't.
Oh, you weren't disturbed? Sorry.
I managed to get into the second one, yes.
Yeah. So, I guess my first notes were about the targets themselves, and I noticed actually three big differences. The first one was that the assault deflection bypass, I'm pretty sure that's gone.
Since I don't have any deflection ship, I cannot agree or disagree. I didn't see any difference on that.
Yeah. But that I always say Kixeye's going to get their damage in one way or another. So the differences that I did see that made it harder were that the Rhinos have remote targeting on all their missiles now, whereas last raid, if you were in the remote targeting range, it would just be a couple of the missiles that would remote. Now it's the whole load that it's going to blow on you. So
yeah, well, it make you rework the path you were taking to hit them, but if you were taking care, you could avoid the remote a lot.
Yeah, that's right, and that's going to be, I think, very important this raid, is to try and really engage or activate as few of those Rhinos as you can at once, so that you don't get one shooting at you and a bunch more remote targeting you.
But at the end of the day, unless you own the Apollo, I don't think any of the targets got easier.
I
Yeah.
disagree. I did the sets, and last raid with what I had, I couldn't do any of the A sets, and now I survive an A set. It does a lot of damage, but I survive. So yeah, they got the damage reduced. I don't know how much, but it was.
I was just thinking that if you don't have assault deflection, the way that the Rhinos are now behaving makes it
Harder for you.
at least it makes it harder for me, because I'm a little bit peeved, because I consider it a sort of a communication breakdown, because we had all this issue with the assault deflection bypass, and so people were building hulls based on that remaining. And so I spent all this time making a Rhino tank, which I never really thought was going to be useful before I saw this raid. Now they've gotten rid of the bypass, so I should have spent that time just specializing a Punisher to do this. Because like we discussed right before, I can do the 75 Legion target for instant repair with my Rhinos and playing around with my subs a little bit. But when I hit an 83 target during the preview, I barely made it through with one fleet. With I think it's 96 missile resistance, 50% corrosive, 76 evade, and having the frontline countermeasures, which gives me 50% turret defense. So now it appears to swing back that the Punisher is the way to go if you don't own the Apollo, personally. But I wasted a lot of time on that haul if this is actually what's happening.
Yeah. Okay. Now the other note I had is I think the targets have more health, and I say that because last raid it was pretty easy for me to target one and then retarget to kill a second one. This time it was a lot more dicey on whether I can kill a second one with the retargeting. And between the two raids, I've added siege DPS on my Rhinos from getting them up to R14. So my Rhinos do more damage, but they still take longer to kill turrets. So, any other observations on the targets, or do we want to move on to the vendetta?
Let's move on.
Okay. So, I just gotta say, I thought the preview was fun as hell. I mean, there's just crazy base hitting going on, and I thought that was really cool. Just people had a lot of gold, and were just continuously hitting bases, and it was really cool. And maybe there's something to be said there about making it easier to be PvP and reducing repair times and etc. Maybe that's really is a good thing, because it was kind of cool to watch and play.
Yeah, it was
Right.
fun. There was a lot of activity. It was fun.
Yeah. And as an extra special bonus, so I built a Vendetta fleet and then took it into some random Blackheart base, and it turned out to be Hefe's base, which was I thought really funny. So what I built was I took I sort of saw the writing on the wall that we're going to be talking about for some more of the show. And right now I run 2 Revenge with 3 Citadels. And so I just built 3 Vendettas to replace my Citadels. And that turned out to be a really cool fleet. And I think most of the fleets that were successful in the preview were these sort of mixed Revenge Vendetta fleets, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, because they could, if driven correctly, they could counteract the weakness of the other.
Yeah, and that's really what happened in your base, Hefe. I thought you had a really good base, nice turrets, decent guard, and all that. But I was able to kind of pick my way through and decide what ship to bring forward, and be able to withstand most of what you threw at me.
Yeah. It's definitely there's another slide on this. I don't know if it's the next. Is it the next one? I can't
it's
recall.
a couple in. Yeah, we'll talk about what each one is strong against.
Yeah, as far as how you would pick apart a base or design your base, it's tricky, but it definitely adds driving to the game, because you can't just push to the back of the base with any of these anymore, as long as people have some of the right towers. I don't have any executioners, but it's not put to the back of the base as long as people have the right towers at this point.
Yeah. But I think the other thing we want to mention, and we'll talk about it more again, is if you're building all Vendettas, the Vendettas still have some pretty big weaknesses, and that might be tough to be. I mean, you'll beat a lot of bases, but an all Vendetta fleet failed in my base, even with my guard pulled. And I mean, I got some, executioners and apocs and whatnot, but I'm not impressed with the Vendetta all by itself. All right, let's move on, because I think we want to talk about the prizes. I don't know. Did we miss anything on the preview? Anything else anybody wants to add? Tito?
No, I think Chris has something.
Chris, Hefe?
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the Vendetta. It's going to cost you 15 million to buy this, although it's 30 million once you buy the other prizes to get up there. We'll mention that later. But this does have some really interesting statistics. First of all, it's a really, really quick build. So anything you want to do, remote targeting with mortars. Again, it's got a really long remote targeting range, good mortar reload, good splash, tight spread.
He's talking dirty now. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the Vendetta spread keeps them spread tightly. I don't know.
Move on.
People picked up my Rhino comment before. Anyway, So yeah, it's a really quick build. I mean, if you just want to even throw like searing barrage mortars on here and just get something in the water, that'll be really quick. But
Or Pandies if they were able to hit the tier 4 this last Forsaken mission.
yeah, any mortars you want. I mean, I agree. It's just searing barrage build really fast. Pandas are a lot better, obviously.
But if you're going to get this haul, you're going to get the mortar. And I mean, once we progress, I wouldn't recommend putting these other mortars on.
Yes, especially because they have changed it again. I don't know if we have it on the slide, but now it has concussive damage as well. That mortar.
Oh,
It's crazy.
Yeah, I think more of the issue is the amount of armor, the amount of damage they do now, and the repair time for that armor. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay. So the Vendetta's still got a lot going on. It's fast. It's got good offense. Its defense is it's got really high deflection against corrosive, penetrative, and concussive, but terrible evade. It's got this defense handicap thing, which means that you basically can't add defense or resistance via specials, armor, weapons, tech modules. None of it adds any defense because it's 100% reduced, handicapped. So don't bother with an armor special or anything like that because it just doesn't do anything. And then it's got an aura that gives a plus 5% critical chance for depth charges, launchers, mortars, and rockets. And it's got Bloodthirst that sort of works with the Revenge Bloodthirst. So killing a target powers out the Bloodthirst on all of the ships, either Revenge or Vendetta. But the bonus isn't really as good. It's got a little bit of concussive deflection and a little bit of explosive damage, but it's not as critical as the Revenge Bloodthirst. So let's keep going. I know we want to get to the.
Well, the only thing I wanted to bring up here was I guess everybody read it, but even the Aegis will not help the defenses on this hull.
Yeah, good point.
Nothing will help.
Yep, it's all handicapped.
Yeah, everything.
Oh, and repair time 30 minutes for 36,000 armor.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's pretty crazy. Did anybody do the math on that? What is that like?
It's last week we talked about a 19% repair efficiency on the Revenge. The Vendetta is 12%.
12?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that would have been even lower. Okay.
I thought the same.
All right. So let's talk about armor versus no armor. This is a really cool slide Hefe put together. First of all, you can see the build time of the hull. This is 8 days for a fully loaded out Vendetta hull. So right there, that's a big deal. That's a quick build. If you want to hit bases, get this. Build it quick. But you see on the left we've got a version without armor. On the right we've got a version with armor. And you put evade on the one on the right as well. And then what'd you do? On the left one you had the splash upgrade instead?
Yeah, what I was looking at on the left was, I mean, the idea of I want to do as much damage as possible and minimize my repair time. And we got that repair time down to basically an hour an instant. And, 8-day build. And we have 100 and having a hard time. 100 and what's the splash percentage? 130.
124.
124%. So 17 times that. It's gonna. We're taking out city blocks here. And then, then you go over to the other version, which I think people would be sort of tempted to build. We're going to put some evade on it and whatnot. But if you take a look at the repair time, we've well more than doubled it.
Yep.
It's 150% of the repair time. and we're buying 24% evade. And that evade, if you look at the rest of this haul, only pretty much deals with ballistic. That's the only reason you would put evade on this haul.
And
I
you
just
know
don't.
what? I'll tell you what. If you've got a javelin, let's say, with DU shells, I think the accuracy of that is 140%, which means 24% evade would only take off 28, 35%. So it's still going to hit you every time with 24% evade.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even do you any good.
Yeah, the only way it would potentially do any good is against like Goliath or a Mega Behemoth or whatnot. And this is assuming you're not using a revenge to sort of switch your tanks. You know, who's going to take the damage or take the shots, maybe not take any damage.
Right. Right. So the moral of this slide is,
Unless you like to repair, I wouldn't put any armor in those slots.
yeah.
I mean, personally, I don't really see the use for it with, you know, with over 48,000 armor. Why would you? I mean, you got plenty of armor because unless, I mean, there's another way to think about it. Unless you don't have a revenge. If you don't have a revenge, this may be a different idea. But I have revenges built, so I'm just assuming that I'm going to use the revenge to take certain types of damage, which we'll talk about in a slide or so, and I'll use the vendetta to take different kinds of damage and just switch them back and forth, and not, you know, aim at the back of the base. And if, you know, basically you can, you know, if you have 2 or 3 of these in a fleet, it's 3 hours of damage, so you could, it's way reduced based on what we've seen in the past.
Yep. All right.
And the other thing is the, you know, what Larry used against me when he hit me, you know, knocking out my dock. So I, you know, just kidding.
Use a bunker booster, right?
Yeah.
Bunker buster on his dock. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an asshole.
Is the tactical resistance module.
Shielded tactical system. Yeah, that's
Yes.
what this is called.
Yeah, the shielded tactical.
It was yeah, it, you know, when you don't have a place for an armor special and an evade special doesn't do you much good, I think one of the early comments was, what the hell do I fill 5 special slots with?
Mhm.
Well, shielded tactical hasn't gotten much attention. But, you know, when you're talking about glacials and you're talking about APOC mortar, fire fields, and you know,
and dingoes and all that kind of, yeah.
Yeah, this shielded tactical system, I'm thinking is going to make a big comeback.
Yeah, because those frosty channels were just stopping them there. They were holding them, not moving at all, at least in the preview.
Not mine. Yeah. All right. So yeah, this is my build. I put countermeasure loaders and a couple gales on mine in the preview. Anyway, yeah, it's a pretty solid build.
Yeah, I'm a little bit curious about whether even to put that the battery thing on it or the capacitor. But we can talk about. I don't know if we want to talk about that later because I don't picture them being that tightly grouped. But I guess it has an 85 range. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
I
the
guess.
order's pretty far. All right, so let's talk about this slide. This one's a little dense, but what we're trying to do here is show you, you know, if you've got a revenge or you're trying to defend it against revenge, you know, what's it strong against, what's it not strong against, and you can kind of see. I think what's most obvious is you can see how the two hulls are very complementary, especially when you're talking turrets. Right? So you've got sort of those turrets at the top, APOC mortar, cold snap, frostbite, javelin even, going to do real well against the Vendetta.
Mhm.
But they don't do anything against the Revenge, as we probably all know by now. On the other side, the Vendetta is going to be very good against Basilisks, Scatterguns, Executioners, Gargoyles, yeah, with the concussive resistance, deflection, all that kind of stuff, radioactive stuff from the Wendigo or Glacial. But then the Revenge is kind of weak against those. So, especially with turrets, you know, if you're just using one ship type or the other, you're going to be really vulnerable in some bases, which is why a lot of people are going to be pairing these up.
Yeah, I think it's sort of what you did when you hit my base, where you sort of you switched out your tank.
Yep. Yep. And then base patrol is kind of interesting. You got the Drac carrier on there, and I want to talk about that for a second because what refresh my memory. Do those do penetrative damage? The
Drac carriers do explosive damage.
Explosive?
Yeah.
So.
What? It depends on the UAV, but yeah, most the UAVs that are built for the Drac carrier are explosive.
Okay, because the first guy that hit me drove into a Harlock loaded with locusts, and it did a lot of damage to the Vendettas, actually.
But those have locusts, aren't they penetrative with a little touch of radioactive, as I recall?
The radioactive.
I'm checking now.
Yeah,
Okay.
look that up. The locust did really well. It's really funny. I keep meaning to pull that Harlock Atlas out of my guard, but just...
Damage type explosive. They do 84 damage. Swarm duration 12.
Yeah, they do a lot of damage over time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was the explosive that must have been getting through. So what Scarab does explosive, and again, I didn't pay much attention to the new UAVs. They weren't useful for very long. But yeah, look for explosive damage on your base defense against Vendettas. Tiger Sharks do well against Revenge. Wait, no, they don't.
They do if it doesn't have the Bloodthirst built up.
Right. Yeah, we might want to tweak that X a little bit. Blades aren't doing any good. Forcers. So yeah, you know, keep an eye on you know, strengths and weaknesses, and I think, you know, I think the base making the rounds when it was just Revenge was somebody with like what 12 executioners, and haha, I'm gonna kill any Revenge that walks in here. Well, now you're in trouble from the Vendettas.
Yeah,
So
because when you hit my base, I had I had a Scald Enforcer with Anapodes and fusion chargers and interception system. So it had 2-3 times multipliers as far as the shockwave, and it wasn't, you know, nothing was happening there.
my Vendetta made fun of it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was nothing happening there.
Yeah. So, you know, I think overall this is going to be pretty cool. I think it's going to make base hitting a lot more strategic. You know, people are getting rolled by Revenges are going to keep getting rolled by Revenges, but you know, for players that are at least advanced enough to have a shot at defending their base, they're going to have to think about it. All right, anything else on this?
No, I think that's about it.
All righty. Okay, let's talk about the new Coaxial Firestorm. You know, I wrote some stuff last night, and then Hefe, you rewrote it today, which again, I appreciate because they change stuff. So you see 400 ton for the weapon, 1800 armor points. It's a dual mode, mortars and rockets, and it seems to fire them both at the same time. It does a lot of damage per ton. You can see it's almost double the Judgment Mortar, and then more than double, yeah, probably about 2 to 3 times the Dragonfire, which is the previous best rocket. And then the other thing that's really important when you're talking about it is, the Dragonfire and all the previous rockets are just useless against anything with deflection. But with these high damage per hit, the Firestorms are going to be a lot more useful in today's game.
Yeah, and I think the big point that I saw with them was the 1800 armor with a repair time of 4 minutes and 18 seconds.
Yep. And
which is, when we go back to repair efficiency, is a 14% repair efficiency.
Sounds right.
Which is quite impressive as far as things go. If you still have rockets on anything, this is definitely the way to go.
Yeah. Now, the weapon's kind of a relatively long build time. I mean, it's not instant, although, we looked at that Revenge build. You're talking 8 days to load up a Vendetta. Sorry, Vendetta build, Revenge build. So, yeah. I guess if I'm looking for weaknesses here, I see it doesn't have any flak evade. The Judgment has the Murph effect.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you can stop these if you've got enough flak.
Well, I think with double the reload time, it's going to be, it'll quickly overcome anything a player could do. But I'm just wondering how the Coaxial Firestorm, maybe on a different hull or maybe on this hull, the only the kick side could shut it down as far as a kick side target with.
The Iron Curtain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of, but because I don't think a player could really, with that reload time, once it gets skulled, that DPS, it's going to be, especially when it's skulled, it's going to be difficult for a player to hold that off, I would think.
Yeah. And then that little bit of concussive damage, they added that one today. It wasn't in the preview, but it's going to be harder to resist the concussive than the explosive. So, a little tidbit. And then, there's concussive on the rocket mode too. Look at that. Wow. Yeah, I think it's a pretty powerful weapon.
Yeah, they changed it significantly from the preview.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Resonance capacitor. Now, the old resonance battery was kind of crappy because not much would activate it. But now you've got the Vendetta that people, its aura on the Vendetta will activate this. So I guess the question is this really worth getting?
Well, the problem is it's not worth or not. The problem is that you have to get that if you want to get the next one, right? If you need to get the 4 to get the 5, so you have 5 available and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. You're going to have to get it if you want the higher prizes. Maybe the right question is this worth using?
I can see uses for it if you think of how it would best work as a fleet, especially with the Vendettas, because it stacks with each one, and if you've got 3 or 4 Vendettas in a fleet, you're going to get a pretty nice stack off of it.
Yeah, you compare this maybe with a siege battery even, and if you've got a Vendetta backing up your fleet, and anything with siege battery, you had what, 50% turret defense, and I don't remember how much building damage you get.
So 75, I think, is.
Yeah. So instead of that, you'll get the 36%, but you'll get it against ships and buildings.
Yeah, and you get the speed bonus also. At times could be good when you are looking for something to let's say even the speeds when you are using, I don't know, the nuclear accelerators, because some of the holes are ballistic, or you are using that missile system, no, the interceptor system that gives that 20% also bonus to some of the ships. So
Yeah.
maybe in a way, when you are using the Aegis or all of those ships that have auras as well, if they work, I don't know. So you can even a bit the speeds. It seems that it says here no, but well.
Yeah, the Aegis does not activate your battery or capacitor. So.
Yeah, they actually added that into the blueprints today during the update. Before, it was a data mining thing to figure it out when I first put that list together. But now they've added a new stat onto your blueprint, whether it activates resonance.
Well, that's good. They added the stat. I mean, Kixeye doesn't like the data miners, but if they gave out the information they should give out in the first place, people wouldn't do it.
The interesting thing, because I put this slide together before before they added that, I looked up the Destroyer ECM. Right now, it has no special abilities, which it used to have. So I'm not sure exactly when that disappeared. Right now, it appears to be just a regular destroyer that somebody spent. What was the last cost? 60 million.
It's expensive. I want it. I want it when it was like a top 3,000 price.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you own it. Maybe you can look at yours and see if you look under the special, if there's anything there. I don't know if they completely neutered it.
Yeah, I don't have the game up right now, but I'll look maybe after the slides are done. I'll look it up.
Yeah, the special ability thing is gone. I'm guessing it's still there, but you just can't read the stats.
Huh. Okay. I'll just launch it and find out. Okay.
I don't know. I found it confusing because you were adding this to the ship, and when you were looking to your ship stats in the shipyard, there was already saying you that you had that 36%, that 50% defense turret and likes, and you were in the shipyard, so you were not even under the effect of any of those auras. So.
Mm-hmm. That's a good note for those that are building with us. Yeah. Okay, I think that's about enough on this guy. Let's talk about the prize list. We mentioned this a few times before. You've got to work your way up. So you got to get tier 4 to be able to get tier 5 to be able to get tier 6. It wasn't really a very popular feature last time, so they brought it back again.
Now, what if you, like last raid, I mean, if you already had one of the prizes, you didn't have to redeem one of the ones to go up a tier? Are they doing the same thing this raid?
I think you have only to hit tier 4, so you can get tier 5 and 6, but you don't need to redeem 1, 2, or 3, or at least that is how I understood it.
Yeah, but I think what Disturbed is asking is last time, if you had the tier 5 second prize already, the one that wasn't new, you didn't have to work your way up. You could just redeem tier 6. I read somewhere that even that was going away. I'm not 100% sure. So yeah.
Because I want the new hull, but I don't want to grind off to get 30 mil just to get it, and I already own everything else, so.
I think all the new prizes are desirable enough, honestly, especially with the Vendetta.
They're desirable enough, but I've gotten a coin for this raid.
Well, anyway, if you missed the Apollo last time, you can get that instead. I think it was only one prize per tier again.
Yeah, well, actually, in the other show, GD Reike said that the left side of this war price is going to be the same one normally till the end of this rate, and that's what they are going to do from now on. And the right side is the only one that is going to cycle with the new prices every single rate. So Apollo, Switchblade, Counter, Missile Extender at least, and I guess the Rhino Trident and the Syntonite Armor D4M. These ones that are the ones that they figure out you need to do this sort of rate event are going to be from now till I think is August. That is the last one of these events because in September comes a new one.
Okay.
So if you can achieve one of those each of the rates, at the end you will be able to get the Apollo. Unless the one on the right side is more desirable.
Yeah. Well, I do really like my Apollo. Although, in the preview, I actually finished my Apollo fleet. I'm building a second one right now. I finished the fleet off and hit a Mega, and I didn't think it did that much better than my tank with my Rhinos. I don't know. Anyway, but the Apollo's a fun hull. You can really whip it around. So you got to choose carefully. All right, anything else on this part of the prizes? No? Okay. Then with the rest of the store, there's an unlocked store. So these prizes you can get without redeeming anything else. It's shipbuild tokens, assault fragments, and this is the first place you can get tier 5 assault fragments. Now, tier 5 assault fragments will get you the Rhino to R15. However, you need 196 of them, and you can only buy 40. So,
yeah, but I think I saw it on one of the group pages that I don't know if it's for everybody or just some places that goes those offers that Kixeye was offering the four Rhino whole parts and the 196 that you were requiring, but that is for tier 4 or for tier 5.
tier 5.
And I don't know. And you need that many? I don't know then
Yeah.
what was that offer about, because it was slightly $70 or something like that, and you were getting all in one.
Maybe it was the first. Was it tier 4 assault fragments? Maybe.
I don't know. I saw it just surfing, and I don't remember, but I think it was just for tier 4.
Okay. And then also on here you've got the Executioner and Basilisk turret that if you've missed them, those are both useful in your base defense. Executioner against the, both of them against the Revenge.
Yeah, the only thing I miss in these stores, the way the game is going, then the must-have that is becoming the deflection hull, is that they don't add one here, even if it's just an Neptune for the people that don't have those munitions on any other. If not, they have to wait till August to get something.
Yeah.
I think that the same way that they do with all those prices that are supposedly to be for the raid, they could add some of those holes here as well.
Yeah, I mean, what else would you want to see? The Punisher?
Yeah, the Punisher. Well, I said the Neptunes because maybe the Punisher is the tier 5 and it's not the one that they want to add so easily, back. But I don't know, the Heavy Cruiser or the Neptune, one of those.
Yeah, Heavy Cruiser would be a good candidate. Oh. Okay. And then the lock store that you have to get through tier 6. Yep, tier 6 to open that up, so you can get Super Hull shards, you can get the Deadeye, and then you can get the Garrison class tier 6, which help you get the Citadel, I suppose, up to tier 5. I don't know how many, or R5. I don't know how many fragments.
I don't even have the hull, so I know I need a lot just to redeem the hull, so I have no idea for those.
Yeah. Okay. I'll keep rolling. This week's Screwups. Another hot chick, at least. That's Adriana Lima, in fact. So I'm getting tired of hearing people complaining about the R&D coming to a screeching halt. And I'm not tired because people are complaining about it. They're right to complain about it. This has been a problem for a long time that Kixeye really should be fixing.
Yeah, and I wonder if they are just waiting to after the raid, because as well, you all know that when you are doing the objective, there are some of them that says do a couple of 85s or do a couple of 75, but those disappear. So what are they waiting for? That they change that to 87 and 97, for example, to fix that problem?
Well, yeah, they're going to have to change those objectives. And, I definitely chalk this one up to incompetence rather than conspiracy. I mean, they want players to do this stuff. They want players to advance. They don't. I don't feel like they want to piss players off just to piss them off. I don't know.
Yeah, but for those that have been blamed, because there is people that has had some money to the game at points, but there are some that wanted to play the free game and it's free game. But if they have not put the $50 on this game, they don't even have the right to rant into the support service, so they cannot even claim that they fixed that. So they have more troubles than others. I think that at the end they put something for them, but it's still an issue.
Yeah, I agree. It's really bad for the free-to-play players who can't file a ticket. Absolutely. All right, well, that's enough on that screw-up. It's a big screw-up. And thanks, Hefe, for suggesting it, because that's a big screw-up. Should be fixed. And then the breakthrough. So, you remember last week there was a preview, the first preview of the Revenge, and the Vendetta was vulnerable to everything. And I think players really said that the hull was totally useless, and rightly so, as it was originally conceived in that first preview.
Yeah, the first one was crazy because, well, first people, when it was a Conqueror, they thought that they could use it like they are using the Revenge, and I think they didn't even get to cross the first part of the channel, so you were then just seeing them getting sunk so fast, and people is so used that the hull at first is so overpowered that it was quite a disappointment to see that thing.
Yep.
And in the second part, well, you still need the Revenge. I guess that in the high-ending players, you're not going to get through them with a fleet of just Vendettas. You will need at least one of those Revenge, but it's not yet that overpowerful like we are used to, but it's quite powerful now.
Yeah.
And you can also use it for other things, because those 36 armor that fix in 30 minutes, I don't know, but that for doing Forsaken missions is going to be good for those that don't have Revenges or Punishes and all that stuff.
Well, and you can just use it as a remote targeting platform for mortars. If you can keep it protected, it doesn't matter what it's, that it's got negative 160% evade and no resistance.
Yeah, but the problem is that how you sell that if that guy already have the Citadels build. For example, I don't have Citadels, I don't have Vendettas, and honestly, I would take this one and before I get the Citadel, because just the build time is crazy.
Yeah,
I think it takes me 3 days or 2 days and a half to just have the 5 hulls, and then adding the stuff. I think that some of the builds were 8 days and some are 10. So a final tech build ship and fleet that takes you less than 1 month to build, depending on how much you want to be picky on the specials and alike. I think it's quite a good point and a good way to take the game now, because you can see now that they have reduced build times and repair times of many things.
Right. And it gets back to, what we all saw in the preview. All that base hitting was fun. And if you can get a fleet out in the water to do it with and not have, insane repair times, let's bring back more base hitting. I haven't seen many hits in the last couple of months, even though the Revenge is so good at it.
Yeah, but, well, in some bases you can see that those Revenges, you just need to click the back of the base, and that a real base hitter is not what he wants. What he wants is something that gives him some of a challenge. If you just hit the back of the base and you can go keep watching the video, it's not what you want, right?
Yeah.
But the problem in this game has always been the same. The game is quite good and quite fun, but the revenue they want to take out of it is what makes it the way it is. That people, just as they say, they play 5 minutes and have to be 2 days repairing the stuff. And that's what took people away from the PvP, so from hitting bases and alike. That and the chores that you have to do every single week, it's making the game at some point that you feel likely working without getting paid, because you pay instead to play it. So that's what kills a bit of the game. But the game, if they could make it some way, the repair times more close to what we are seeing on this last haul and all that stuff, I think you could rework this game a lot. But let's see what they say.
Yeah, right. Why not? We've been saying on the show that these repair efficiencies are like 15% instead of the 100% that's kind of nominal, right? Just pull everything down to 15%. What? I don't know. I mean, I say that, and then I start thinking, well, Kixeye is going to find a way to make their money, so they'll just cause more damage. I don't know, but maybe. What do you think, Hefe? You've been quiet, disturbed?
I'm gonna go back to the Vendetta. That it definitely brings a new degree to base hitting, other than just point and click leads with the Revenges that I've been seeing so many people do.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy it because I like my Citadels, but using them in a base, you have to worry about Deadeyes targeting them, and now I won't have to when I build these.
Right.
And the 5-hour build time makes it so you just want to build a few fleets of them and not have to worry about it.
That's true. If you're worried about repair time, build one fleet and then build a second.
I plan on spending a few days just building the hulls when I get it, and then refitting it later in case Kixeye decides to up the build time on the hull.
That's maybe a good plan. Yeah.
Yeah, and yesterday I think we talked about a strategy to stop the combination of those two fleets. We never tested it out, but remember, talk about that. We never actually did anything, but the Vendetta without Bloodthirst is vulnerable to the Drac Scatter gun and the Basilisk, while the Vendetta is vulnerable to explosive damage. The Vendetta has a max damage of 9 or max range of 90 if it's going to be using mortars. The idea of stacking either a cold snap or a frostbite behind a Drac Scattergun in order to at least ensure some amount of damage to whatever fleet tries to hit it.
Yep.
With some walls around and some support of different ways in order to get that done.
But you could also add one of those Gatling guns, or the Revenge have one of those boost to the range of that weapon. Because if you put one of those, and it's 104, I think that you could just use the remote targeting for kill all those things, right?
But you could also put an executioner that's in range to hit that one if it's going to have to plow through walls or anything of that nature.
Yeah. A lot of choices. All right. That's it for the slides. I'll back to the screen. There we are. Howdy, everybody. Anything else we want to talk about this? Well, you know what? I didn't get to the second thing on my slide there, and it was a little more controversial, right? I thought the raid difficulty was well tuned, and by that I'm saying I could beat these targets, but I took some damage, but it didn't seem like a whole lot of damage. A lot of players thought the damage was really high, and I think it's because all those Zoe missiles. What do you think?
I tell you the damage was lower because the day I came it was Sunday and I tried a few of those targets with the rhinos I had at that moment that are the same I have now. I could do nothing against them. The set A were insta-killing me nearly. I could do nearly all of them, but I was dying. And when I was trying to face that mega hull, those patches of ice that they were dropping, or those missiles, were just keeping my fleet there without being able to move, and I was just dying there waiting to try to move ahead or pull back. This time, I could do each of those targets. I was maybe having to get the 5% left of my fleet when I was finishing, but I could do them. And in the set B, it was likely a walk nearly. I think I was getting 1 or 2 coins for each of the ones I was hitting, and I don't have any tank or anything like that, just those rhinos. So the difficulty was quite low. But also, I know that Doom Roster said that the difficulty in the preview is not the final one, so we can still expect some changes.
What do you think, Hefe? Easier, harder?
My issue was the fact that I don't know if easier or harder is the issue. I think my issue is the fact that they put in the assault deflection bypass and then they removed it after we spent a month building for that. I think that's more the issue that I have.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, communication breakdown is, what I saw as the issue.
Well, yeah, Kickstarter was really touchy about admitting any of that assault deflection bypass. Or talking about it. I had a post pulled from the forums. And you got banned over it, didn't you? Forum ban?
Yep. Permanent.
Permanent.
Yep.
All right. I haven't been watching YouTube chat. Do we have anything exciting on YouTube? Anything?
Nothing too crazy that I see, at least recently.
So what do we got? Can't remote off the secondary of the Gatling. Sorry, I had a YouTube fail. Apologize. Yeah, well, not too many questions. We got some comments. People surprised that the Vendetta's a balanced hull. Reminding us that we can't remote target off the long range of the Gatling. I put a D98U on mine so I can get retarget off the remote target off that 95 range from the single launcher.
Yeah, I do like the idea of potentially just using the Revenge as merely a spotter tank. Put your longest range, which would be like guided missile system, Harrier, load that thing down with armor and evade, and don't put any other missiles on it, and then just use it as a tank spotter for the Vendetta. You following what I'm saying?
Yeah, you could do that. I like the Gatlings, and the thing about that is, the mortars do take a while to land. So I don't know if I'd quite go so.
Well,
spotter.
Maybe as a cheap quick build after you already have them with the concussive Gatling guns.
Yeah, okay. Would the
It
flagship?
it takes no time to build. You know. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm seeing a question come in from chat. Would the flagship effect on defense buff work on Vendetta? And the answer is no, because of that defense handicap. So, yeah.
Yeah, so the Mega Behemoth's 50% ballistic defense, which seems to make a lot of sense.
Zeroed.
Yes.
Okay. Should we call it a night?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thanks for coming out, those of you in chat. Thanks for coming out, Tito and Hefe and Disturbed. Earth will be back eventually.
One last question.
Okay.
That turret defense works with that defense handicap, or they work different?
It does, and I think you got to go back and read what they said about defense handicap. Well, it doesn't say it in this one. I think it was clear on the briefing. It said something about the defenses against turret type, or I'm sorry, against a damage type.
Yeah, they split it into a different type. It's considered a general type of defense and not a specific. They've made the game way too complicated.
Yes.
So it's like if it was a deflection. If you add the deflections armors, you will get more deflection. That will help you, but you will not be able to put any resistance on it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. For after the raid, the the deflection armor plates will be available, and from what I can tell, those should work well on this hull.
Yeah.
So don't put any armor on them until you win those.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to call it an evening?
Yeah, we can call it an evening.
All right. Everybody say goodnight. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right. Let's push the red button.